Hi everybody, it's Ginger with Angelic Effect, and so I am sending you guys a video because, as you know, parasites are a big problem for people, but I don't think that people really understand to what magnitude. For instance, I was just listening to a fellow. I'm going to hook you up with part of the video, a little snippet, and then if you want to see the rest, you'll go and you'll take a peek, of course. But he even mentioned that parasites can exist with heavy metals. In other words, they consume them and they keep the heavy metals within. And pretty much there's a lot of diseases, and I can't give you the correct number, but that absolutely have parasites, Lyme disease, that kind of thing is the underlying base, and people don't realize it. So they'll be thinking, and they even claim some of these are cancers, as a matter of fact. But I'll link that up for you, and you'll see, because if we don't get rid of the parasites, nothing else we do is going to work. Absolutely no thing we do is going to work, because they compromise our immune system. They damage our liver and our brains. So it's very important that we absolutely get rid of the parasites. And Mimosa, which grows prevalently around here, is all over the bark and the pudica, the seeds in here. I'm going to go ahead and I got a whole bunch of it to work with, because I am still dealing with the parasites myself, which have not helped in, all my other conditions that you've seen me go through. But here are what the seeds look like. I'm going to find out if they're able to be crushed or whatever. And then also the bark underneath here, underneath the sweet bark like this, any of the bark, is supposed to be very good for the nervous system, calmative, soothing, put you in a better mood, better state of mind. Yeah. So do your research, you guys. This is very exciting. There's a lot of it here. If you guys want some seeds, if I figure out how to use these properly, I'm going to try a tea with the bark. I got the bark too. Now this is really big bark. Clearly they're going with the smaller bark, but kind of like the birch up there, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to get some sort of the inner bark off of here. So I'm going to try a tea with the leaves, with some of the smaller, younger bark, and I'm going to try to see about grinding up these seeds. And yeah, because I'm not on the way to order any of it, but if you guys can find a reputable supplier, let me know. Glory to the King, y'all.
I'm like, maybe I got to go back on this. I went back on, boom, pile.
That says, hey, you can't have that. So now you've got a reason to stop, rather than just trying to work against your willpower.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and when you look at food sensitivities, food allergies, parasite infection is one of the number one things I've seen, especially in the dairy allergy. I was allergic to dairy growing up, but I'd have on and off periods where I was really sensitive, and I'd be putting apple juice on my cereal, and then other moments where it was like not as intense, so waxed and waned. And looking back now, I realized I had chronic parasitic infection or parasite infection since I was a little kid, never dealt with it. And as soon as I cleared that out, then all of a sudden my sensitivities and allergies went away. And even my good friend, Dr. Todd Watts, he had severe dairy allergy, went 5 years no dairy because anything he would touch would just cause a massive reaction. And then as he cleared parasites out himself, he's like, I'm going to try this out. So I think he was at Five Guys in a burger, some place that's not great, and had a milkshake and did absolutely fine. And he's like, wow, this is it. This is one of those things that was actually triggering it. So it is, we really want to ask questions. We want to ask, okay, rather than not the why me question, like, why am I allergic, or why am I struggling with this? Why can't I recover after a workout, but somebody else does, right? Why does my food have to be so restrictive and I don't get any leeway on it? As you ask questions more about that versus why me, then it's more empowering.
Yeah. So going back to the parasites really quick, what did you guys do, or what did you do in particular to get rid of your parasites? And what was the parasite in particular that was causing the dairy issue?
I don't know the specific parasite that was causing the dairy issue. I've had a ton of different ones come out of me. I mean, it's kind of gross to talk about, but at the same time, it's just being real. I was speaking on stage at a seminar. Gosh, it's probably been almost 4 years ago now. And one guy I didn't some and I'm like, wow, this guy's either a jerk or he's just really smart and wants to know, like, some answers. I think I was talking about hormones and Lyme disease. And then after I got off stage, we went up to each other and were just chatting. I'm like, oh, this guy's actually really nice. He's just a really smart guy and just wants to know, like, the pathways and how everything connects. And so we went out to dinner with some other people that we knew, and he's showing me pictures on his phone. And I'm like, what is that? It's like these long things that come out of people, little strips, these big chunks of stuff. There's this guy holding up a 6-foot tapeworm. I'm like, what is going on? Like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, it's this thing called Mimosa pudica seed. And I'm like, say that again. You had to say it like 3 times. Mimosa pudica seed. And so I know, like, there's an alcoholic drink called mimosas, like champagne and orange juice.
Yeah.
But this is put a pudica at the end, and then it's the seed form. And so he's like, oh, immediately my curiosity, sparked. I'm like, well, I want to try that, like that's just who I am. And so he sent me a bottle and I started taking it. And about 6 days in, like, had this little thing kind of poking off of my stool. I'm like, oh, that doesn't look normal. So I poked it. It's like a 6-inch worm. So I text Dr. Todd Watts. I'm like, I got something that came out. He's like, oh, well, that was my reformulation. I'm going to send you my original. So I went on that. And about 17 days in, the day before my stomach starts rolling, I'm like, oh, I don't, like, stomach doesn't feel good. I was actually at a conference, but I wasn't speaking. So there's no reason to be, like, anxious or like the butterflies, getting ready to present type of thing. And the next day I'm going to the bathroom and immediately get this feeling of like, whew, I feel so much better. And I look down, I go to wipe, and I'm like, that didn't feel right. I looked down, and there's these 2 worms hanging from me into the toilet bowl. They're dead,
right,
but they're hanging from me in the toilet bowl, which were Ascaris lumbricoides, so a type of roundworm, which is really one of the first kind that my body cleared out. And I was at the hotel. My wife and daughter happened to be there. My daughter was maybe about 3 at the time, and I yelled at my wife. I'm like, Heather, get over here. And of course, my daughter comes first. She comes running over, and she looks at me, and she looks down. She looks at me. She's like, Dad, why do you have string hanging from your butt? I'm like, Heather, get over here, And I get that, just like, she looks and she's like kind of turns away. But like, what is that? Like the curiosity. I'm like, these are worms. My brother-in-law happened to be there, but he didn't come over. So I grabbed some toilet paper and just slowly pulled it out, and then my mind just started racing. I'm like, wait a minute. If I, a relatively healthy guy, have these critters inside of me, who else does? And immediately I had just a ton of clients I was working with in the chronic Lyme disease world, which I feel like if you can get somebody well with chronic Lyme, like anything else, you're good with. Like it's a tough scenario sometimes to be in. And immediately put everybody on Mimosa pudica seed, and that was one of the biggest game-changing protocol things that I've ever found, was really embarking on that. And the stuff that comes out of people, it's just unbelievable. So and then the next month and a half I had like probably just like every stool was like piles of worms. I'm like, where are these coming from? They were like 4 to 7 inches for like a month and a half, and then they stopped. And I was like, oh, I'm done. So I stopped. And then all of a sudden, like, my stomach started feeling a little sensitive. My butt started itching. I'm like, maybe I got to go back on this. I went back on, boom, piles. And then it stopped. I'm like, oh, I'm done. And then it happened again. And that's where I realized that one of the most important things that you can do in the parasite cleansing side of it is be persistent and be consistent. Because the time that you think you're done, they just might not be hatching, and there's still probably eggs in there. And so you want to, when you think you're actually done cleansing, do at least another month. I like to do at least
Okay, so an added gingery thing. I'm probably just going to do gingery things because I don't have all the tools and stuff. But as I was taking the seeds out, I found that it's got this resiny stuff in there. Anyway, I'm going to grind up this guy and also try it too. The husk from where the seed is, because I haven't heard anything about that. So Ginger's going to give it a try for you guys. Glory to the King, y'all.